2012 Olympics, well, there's a whole different subject.
The New World Order and the Secret Brotherhoods is another term for the quest for a New Jerusalem. Now, New Jerusalem is a generic term within the Brotherhoods that means a new start. Over the years, there have been a number of cities that have been effectively designated by the Brotherhoods operating within those cities and the leaders of those cities as the New Jerusalem. Not least Paris, Washington, Perth in Australia. But one of the primary places is London. And this term came about in London basically from around about the 17th century, although we can trace this thread back a little further, with a group of people who believed that England was effectively ceded by one of the lost tribes of Israel, effectively the tribe of Ephraim. And the term they use to identify their New Jerusalem is Zion. Now, the New World Order is not one organization. There are a number of different organizations, and they make very, very strange bedfellows. One thing is for sure, these are the goals that they absolutely share. The one world government, the one world economy, the one world religion. And in each case, the one world is theirs. And a population reduced to 1 billion people. That's 80% reduction.
Over the past 6 months, I've gone through some kind of awakening process where I've started seeing things for pretty much what they really are. It seems like something's finally snapped, and I've finally got a realization over a lot of things that permeate our material world, if you like. Having seen the Ian Crane speech and everything, I had an urge to start my own research into this. I wanted to find out if what was saying could be proven, kind of thing.
Yeah.
First thing that brought to my mind was the poem by William Blake. William Blake wrote a poem in the 18th century called Jerusalem, and there's a paragraph, the final few words in that poem says, "I will not cease from mental flight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land." So basically, William Blake was a known 18th century esotericist with connections to the Freemasons. In that poem, we'd got an acknowledgement from a guy connected with esoteric research that they were intent on building Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. When we talk about the Olympics 2012, we're talking about something that's been planned for hundreds of years, and there's a lot of proof that I've dug up that can show that. It's been bandied around the internet quite a bit, but if you shuffle the Olympics 2012 logo around, you can spell the word Zion.
Indeed.
The company who created that logo is a company called Wolf-Olin. It's a brand agency. And this brand agency was set up by a chap called Wally Ollins, and this man was responsible for branding corporate Europe. All these logos that have kind of sunk into the subconscious of sorts, these were all created by this man called Wally Ollins. And it turns out his dad was a Freemason.
Right.
So the chances are that it's in the family, and there's these messages in the logos that this man's produced. It's a Freemasonic branding company for corporate Europe.
Yeah. Wow.
Essentially.
Really interesting.
So, at this point, you've got this connection to Freemasonry with the logo and stuff, and it moves much higher than Freemasonry. That's just like the outside protection for this stuff. I basically loaded up Google Earth. I wanted to look at the London site from the air. I wanted to see, what it is that's so special about this place. It just so happened that the particular site in Stratford was the only last bit of wasteland that was left vacant in London. It was the one last place that they could do things. For something like the Olympics. And what I noticed was I started looking at the actual street plan of this place. To go through it, you've got a number of roads that circle the site. And the first road is a road called the East Cross Route, which is a reference to the Eastern Cross. The next road down, you've got Carpenter's Road, which encircles the site. Carpenter, who was a carpenter? Oh, good old Joseph.
Yeah,
he was a carpenter, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Next road down, you've got a road called the Great Eastern Road. And obviously when you refer to something as the Great Eastern, it's obviously like the Great Eastern Star. So you look into the Great Eastern Star. Turns out that the Order of the Eastern Star is the largest fraternal organisation in the world that both men and women can join, and it was founded by someone highly connected with the Freemasons. And their symbol is the pentagram. The next road along is Angel Lane, and obviously the famous angel is the Angel Gabriel. So we've got Angel Lane here. Next road along, we've got Temple Mills Lane. Temple Mills, where the water mills belong to the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
So So another connection there, the Knights Templar were the poor fellow soldiers of Christ in the Temple of Solomon. And then encapsulating all of this is Church Road. It's obviously another biblical road name.
Yeah.
So all the way around the Olympics 2012 site, which you could call Zion if you go with the logo, is biblical road names surrounding the whole site. There's not one road name that's not biblical. So you start looking at that and you think, what the hell is going on? This site was supposedly a fluke that they found this, and what we're looking at is something that is clearly quite well planned. You look into the situation of where it's situated in London and Eastern London, and you'll find that it's in two areas. It's separated between Leighton and Leytonstone. And I don't know if you're aware of what a ley line is, but basically,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, you look into this. The Olympic site is bang on where two ley lines cross over. So we're on about something that's connected to the energy grid of, you know, the world, the lifeblood of the earth, if you want to call it that. As far as UFOs are concerned and stuff like that, if you look into UFO sightings and stuff, a lot of them can be attributed to being near ley lines. Because obviously a UFO isn't necessarily something that's definitely fixed in our particular 3D world. Something that can be obviously of another dimension of sorts.
Yeah.
So we've laid out a ground plan with a street map of the Zion Olympics in 2012. Like biblical road names left, right and centre. Symbology and symbols and everything, you know, it's all over the place. So I sat down and I started thinking to myself, what is going to happen? What I started looking into was the idea of the Trinity, because obviously the pyramid numerology and everything gets involved in all of this. The precession of the equinoxes is a 26,000 year cycle through 12 signs of the zodiac, and that's about 2,100 years to transition into a new age. With the dawn of Christianity under Jesus, we entered the age of Pisces, which was symbolised by a fish. Prior to that, under the age of Aries, we were symbolically represented with Moses in his ram's horn.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we're reportedly moving into the 11th astrological sign of Aquarius. You start looking into religions as a whole, and you realise that every time that there's one of these kind of transition of the ages, if you want to call it that, there's almost like a new Trinity event which finds itself radically shaping the landscape. So for instance, the last Trinity event we had essentially was the Jesus, Joseph and Mary, who had been touched by the Angel Gabriel Trinity. And obviously in Christianity as a whole, you've got the Holy Trinity, which is the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit, which is symbolic again for the Angel Gabriel. Hindu religion, we've got Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. The Jewish Trinity, which is essentially not as personified but was Moses, Ark of the Covenant and the Temple. And then obviously moving into the human body, we've got the spirit, body and soul. But the fundamental Trinity of the ages, like that started it all, was the Osiris, Isis and Horus connection. Obviously Osiris and Isis, mother and father, giving birth to Horus, who was essentially the personified, and it was the sun. So, given that we've got this 1776 on the Great Seal, on the dollar bill, starting at 1776, we've got the Latin of Novus Ordo Seclorum, and it's literally Latin for New Order of the Ages. So it's not New World Order, it's New World Order of the Ages. So it's obviously insinuating it's to do with the transition of the ages moving into the sign of Aquarius.
In July of 2005, the 6th of July, London was awarded the Olympics, the day before a very significant event.
It's been covered up by the news, but it's on the internet, but it never got covered in News 24 or whatever you watch. Basically, on the same day that London bid was won for the Olympic Games, there was a huge massacre on the island of Haiti, in which 24 people confirmed dead after more than 300 heavily armed UN troops carried out a major pre-dawn military raid in Cité Soleil. What is symbolic is the place where it was. It was in Cité Soleil, which is Sun City. Gets even weirder. It's one of the poorest communities in Haiti. It's one of the poorest communities in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's in a place called Port-au-Prince. And then you look into Port-au-Prince itself. Port-au-Prince celebrated its independence 200 years ago. I don't know what it's celebrated its independence from, because it didn't seem to get any better. But the bicentennial monument that they erected in the independence of Port-au-Prince just so happens to be a pyramid without a capstone and an Olympic flame at the top.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what that's saying, but you've got Sun City with a prince and you've got a pyramid with an Olympic flame on the same day the Olympics 2012 bid was won. I started looking towards royalty, the coat of arms of Great Britain, and obviously William is a symbolic person within the continuation of the royal family and everything. Out comes Google. Prince William's birthday. He was born on June the 21st. You know when June the 21st is?
That's the summer solstice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, the son of Most High. And then you look into it a bit further. How old is he in 2012?
Probably 33, right?
No, he's 30 years old.
30 years
right?
old, okay, yeah.
Connection here. Jesus began his ministry at age 30.
There you go, okay.
Turned out a few months ago that he'd been made the 1000th member of the Order of the Garter, the parent organisation of Freemasonry.
What's coming next? We've seen 9/11 being used as an excuse to pursue an agenda to establish effectively military dictatorship in the US under the guise of the White House. But back in 1988, Reagan made this speech to the UN.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
He made that speech a number of times through the late 80s. I contend to you that the New World Order, players within the New World Order, are about to initialize a catastrophic and catalyzing event like a false flag alien invasion.
Colonel von Braun, on his deathbed, announced that the last disaster to hit the planet would be this looming threat of an outside alien force.
They need something mega to get back on track for their agenda. They've got military bases in 130 countries. They've got the black technology to be able to pull a stunt like this. It is audacious to the extreme. And of course it's absurd. It's completely absurd. But so would it be for anybody standing up on a platform a few days, weeks, months or years before the events of 9/11, claiming that the American government would launch an event where they flew their own planes into the World Trade Center. This is the British Israelis, those who believe that the UK is the lost tribe of Ephraim and that the New Jerusalem, the New World Order, will be established. And my conjecture is that I'm not sure which will come first, or maybe they'll come together, but there will be an event at the London Olympics. They're starting with a blank sheet of paper. You know, they've got the opportunity to build in whatever pyrotechnics or whatever it is that they need to create a massive, massive event. And it'll be broadcast, of course, on worldwide television, millions watching. They fooled us once, and George Bush himself said,
"Fool me once.
You can't fool me again." This time, when they pull a stunt like this, the automatic reaction should be, hang on a goddamn second. I ain't going to be anywhere near London. There's two potential dates. My bet is August the 12th. I think something very significant is going to be launched on August the 12th, which is the closing ceremony. Some very interesting research has come my way recently. It's coming up with very similar conjecture that there will be a major event at the Olympics, but they're going for August the 4th. They have also suggested that the target is going to be the Dome. And the Dome on August the 4th will be hosting the female gymnastics. And most of the female gymnastics in there will be Chinese and Russian. And most of them will be young virgins. So getting into the whole esoteric of that. The bottom line is that these socio-psychopaths who have an occult belief system that bears no relationship to anything that anyone in the wider world has will not be able to let something of the significance of the London 2012 Olympics pass without taking the opportunity to accelerate their agenda for global governance. But of course the reality is there's way more of us than them. We just got to get our act together. And I hope that something will achieve that before these guys unleash whatever it is they're going to unleash at the London Olympics. Whatever happens at the London Olympics that's out of the ordinary, do not take it at face value.